oats, fresh ground whole wheat flour, brown sugar, sunflower oil, butter, honey, chocolate chip, egg, salt, baking powder, cinnamon, nutmeg, baking soda, and a whole lot of love. Yeah, I can pronounce everything on there, and I can close my eyes and picture what it all looks like. It's all that's everything that I just read is in a chocolate chip cookie. Great big square chocolate chip cookies, 2 to a pack. This here is one of many things that I got from a family in Mimbres, New Mexico, in appreciation for doing what I do. So this doesn't happen. This hasn't happened, or this isn't the first time this has happened. This happens fairly often, actually. But you can see, we got the cinnamon rolls here. We got the, what's that called? Almond butter. We got the biscuits. The muffins, chocolate chip muffin, blueberry muffin, my absolute favorite. Look at that. One excellent blueberry muffin, of course, your chocolate chips. Oh, and a big old loaf of apple cinnamon pecan bread. I can't wait to have that with some of this almond butter on it. But this is what I got from a family out there that has a little restaurant, a little bakery and restaurant in Mimbres that I delivered to earlier today. Actually, my last delivery earlier tonight. I ate an apple at my third stop today. No, I'm sorry. My second to the last stop yesterday out in Arizona. Lady comes out there. She's got this great big box. And she says, you have to take some apples. You can't leave here unless you take a bag of apples. I said, okay, whatever. And she's got a box and must have 150 apples in them. So I'm not taking them all, but I'm taking some. And I said, store-bought apples, your apples? She goes, oh, no. These are homemade apples. So she has her own apple tree. I bit into that apple on the way down the road, after I got all said and done. Some of the nicest people out there. I did a U-turn. I came up and I forgot to follow their directions. I did a U-turn in their driveway, and my trailer tire just sat there and pivoted, right? Dug a big old hole right in there in their driveway, and I thought, oh, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do that. My bad. I said, my wife has an uncle that if you do that in his business driveway, he'll have your tail. It's not a good thing. But anyway, so I get down the road. We get finished up, and I get down the road, and I bite into that apple, and it was like a time machine. It took me right back to going down to Nana's house. Some of you who grew up with me knew that I go down to Nana's house. The whole family just packs up at every, not every, but most Christmases, Thanksgivings, Easters, and all that. And we'd meet aunt and uncles and cousins and a bunch of family down at Nana's house. And there was a place down there up and across the street that had old heirloom apples. The trees had apple trees on them. Well, about that time, you could go up still get some apples off of that tree. And they were so tasty, man. It was this apple that I had after delivering to my last stop yesterday. Is the last stop or second to the last stop? It's late yesterday. It took me right back. They were the most, they had the richest, deepest flavor. And it reminded me of when we went down there and we got these apples, and then we went down to the creek, and we were in the truck with my Uncle Tim and my two cousins and his daughters, my two cousins, and we stopped at the barn. And my uncle, he has a real special place in my heart. Out of all the relatives, aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas, and all that, my Uncle Tim was my favorite, my all-time favorite. He he always did this thing. when he saw something or heard something or something was unbelievable, he'd go, "Geez!" He always did that, and from what I understand, he did that all his life, and still does it. You know, he's still alive. He's back there in California, but um, he did that. Well, we stop at this place. You go down the road and get off the highway and come back down the dirt road, and you're going down to the river, and Canyon Creek. Um, and we stopped this one place that the people, I don't know if they all died or moved out or what, but their barns were still there. And my uncle, uh, being kind of a picker, like the American pickers, like they go around and look for old stuff in places. My uncle's kind of the same way. So am I. And he opens up the barn, and this bat comes flying out right in his face, and bam, hits him in the chest. And he's going backwards and backwards and backwards, and he almost falls on his butt. Maybe, I can't remember, maybe he did fall on his butt, but I remember him standing there after the whole thing, and he was just standing there, and he looked at us and he goes, "Geez!" And that I was eating an apple at that same time, and it was kind of a weird sensation, I guess, or weird. It was just real surreal when I bit into that apple yesterday afternoon. Took me right back, wham, just like that. Took me right back to that. I can see his gray or his gray or silver. I would call it silver. Step side truck with the rack on top. I know I could see. I think my cousin Tina was, his daughter was driving. Uh, I can't remember if Julie was with us or something like that, but I know Dad was with us. My dad was with us. I know Chuck was with us, my brother, and it just, I could see it all sitting there, and it was just weird, surreal, very surreal, but kind of cool that a simple taste of an apple can transport me right back in time. And I guess smells and taste can actually uh, uh, bring back memories more than anything else. But that we used to go down there all the time, and then I got to thinking, I was like, good grief, I remember the times when it was time to go to Nana's house, and I hated it. I hated the drive down there because I would always get car sick. Every stinking time I get car sick. From my house, where I grew up in Medford, down to Wairika. I drive it now in the big truck, and it takes less than an hour. And it seemed like it took from early morning to about 1 or 2 in the afternoon just to make Wairika. And it was, by the time we got down there, by the time we got packed up and down to Wairika, it was only a couple hours. And we'd always stop at the McDonald's, and I'd get a Big Mac. Back before Big Macs were that big and about that tall, they were a big hamburger, a nice big hamburger. And I'd get a Big Mac, and it'd always fall apart in my little hands. I'd get so mad, and I was just sitting there picking it and all that. So I'd fill up, and I'm already in a bad mood. And by that time, we left Wairika, southbound on Highway 3, heading down through Scott Valley, up over Scott Mountain, windy, 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 up over Scott Mountain. And I started getting woozy. Oh, my God. Everybody's like, just look out the window. So I look out the window. No, not the side window, out the front window. And then pretty soon the Big Mac would reappear, and I'd have to put it back in the bag it came from. So it was always once that happened, then the trip was fine. Everybody was cool, except for my brothers, because Mom and Dad took us down to Nana's house for many years I think a maroon and white or a red and white. The body was white. I think it was a 1979 Cutlass Sierra, or no, Cutlass Supreme, Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Seated 5 people, 6 if you put the front things down, in the middle of the seats. But it was a 2-door, and it was a diesel. And oh my God, what a trip that was. I mean, it was almost like a National Lampoon's trip down to Nana's house. And every time we go down there, we'd have to stop at I think it was in Etna at Dottie's, and get an ice cream. Then we'd go up over Scott Mountain. We'd stop at the top, and at the campground right there, and we'd always be told. Dad would always tell us, this is where the Pacific Crest Trail comes through right over here, comes across right across the road and comes across. Yep, I know that by memory, and I'll never forget it ever, freaking ever. Then we'd go down the other side of Scott Mountain, the south side, and we'd always hear about where Dad come down the side of the mountain down, or heading down the mountain on his Kawasaki Bushwhacker. And I'll do a video about the Bushwhacker someday too, because that was a cool deal. I grew up with that. I never got to see it run because Dad froze it up going down the south side of Scott Mountain. It seized up because he was going too fast. I think it was a two-stroke, if I remember right. And he laid it down and slid off or whatever, and he had to walk it over to a friend or some farmer's house and get a ride home. That's when he was young, I think. No, I think that was after he met my mom, and after they got married. But anyway, we see that, and then we go down and we pass the river. I don't know what river it is that flowed into that filled, that supplied Clare Ingle Lake, and we'd always hear about oh no, that was on the north side of Scott Mountain, where we'd hear about Roosevelt gold miners, the Roosevelt era gold mining dredges. They were down there. That's what they made all the piles of rock. And then we get into Weaverville, and hear a bunch of other stuff about there. And then before you knew it, we were up over the mountain to Junction City and up Canyon Creek to Nana's house. And every time we pull up there, we'd always hear about the apple trees across the street, from my Nana's house. And when I say across the street, I'm talking about a country road that, she only had, I think, 3 neighbors inside of a square mile. And way up in the southern end of the Marble Mountains there, way up in the woods, and it was such a good place to go. It was so awesome to go there because there's wild apples, there's Himalayan blackberries all over the stinking place. There was gold panning to do, there was swimming to do, hiking to do. We went all over the place. It's such great memories, and I had forgotten about a lot of that. I tried to remember a lot of that, and reminisce on my childhood, but I was blessed with a bag of apples that the lady insisted I take, and when I bit into them, I realized why I'm supposed to take those apples, and it took me right back. It was so cool. The coolest people I meet the neatest people out here on delivering these loads to these loads of Azure groceries and stuff. And I get some of the I don't know, just amazing compliments, As people, how people see a veteran, and I'm not putting myself on the level of veteran, not by any means whatsoever. I'd never do that. I drive truck for a living. I get paid for it. I didn't volunteer to go, serve the country in the military, but I do drive truck, and people appreciate that, and they will thank me as if they're thanking a veteran, almost the same severity on it, I guess, sincerity, the same sincerity. And they shake my hand, and I've had one guy came up, I think he was Mennonite, if I remember right, and he gave me a big old hug, and he goes, I could never do what you guys do. You guys are amazing. And I was like, well, I appreciate that. It's what I love to do, and I'm blessed with a family that allows me to do this. So, and now I'm blessed with a job that allows me to do this and then go home and have quality time at home. So I'm really I don't even know, just absolutely thankful for it. So I can't wait to dig into some of that food, too late tonight, otherwise I get heartburn all night long. So anyway, I'll say it. I said it before in my last video, and I'll say it again. Go to azurestandard.com, azure.com, or no, azurestandard.com, and if you feel so inclined, start an account and start buying from us, man. It's some of the best stuff you'll ever have. I love it. It's good food, very, very good food. By the way, if you do get an account with Azure Standard and you need a burn barrel, put that on your deal, because when we get done with our molasses and our honey and anything else that comes in 55-gallon drums, we'll clean those up. Well, I don't think we clean them out. We just empty them out as best as possible, close them up, throw them on a truck on your order, whatever. If you order one, I'm not sure how much they cost, but obviously it'll say on there. But I'll deliver it to you, or one of us, one of we drivers will deliver it to you. I have 2 on the barrel that's going to be here in Silver City tomorrow, or 2 on the barrel, 2 on the trailer, 2 barrels on the trailer. It's been a long day. Good grief. 2 barrels on the trailer that I'm delivering here to Silver City tomorrow. So, also, if you need pallets too, when they deliver your loads, if you order and they'll deliver to you. If you need pallets, let them know. Hey, I need pallets. If they get there and there's always ask them, hey, is there stuff that people left on the truck that I could get? Because if it's my truck, I'm gonna let you have it for 30% off. And you could all you do is just call into your customer service rep and say, hey, driver said this, and I'll get it. But anyway, yeah, go on there and check it out. I think you'll love it. And if somebody walks up to you and says, hey, I got a bag of apples that I grew, non-GMO, completely organic, the only thing they've seen is water and thyme, man, pick them up, get them and eat them. Gosh, you'll love them so much. They're so good. There's nothing like running across a wild apple that's never seen, fertilizers or pesticides or anything like that. Just a wild apple that's just naturally grown. They have the best taste to them. Anyway, I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to go to bed because I'm flipping tired. I've been slinging all kinds of groceries all day long. So, God bless y'all, and I hope y'all have a good night. Later.